When Wonderkids fail in football. In 2019, while Thanos was zapping half the universe away, there was a young Portuguese kid that was doing a madness in Benfica. You probably guessed it by now, but it's Joao Felix. He won the Golden Boy that year, and to say that he deserved it is an understatement. Not only did this dude look like Kaká, but he also played like him too. Even though he isn't Brazilian, Felix played with this kind of Jogo Bonito style of play. But the kid wasn't all just flair, because in the 2018-19 season, he managed to rack up 20 goals and 11 assists in all competitions. And as you can imagine, every big team were drooling at the idea of signing him. Joao Felix was linked to the likes of Man City, Juve, Barcelona, Manchester United. You get the point. Basically every big team in the world. And out of all these options, the team that actually ended up signing him was Atletico Madrid. Yup, you heard me right. Atletico de Madrid. They had just sold Griezmann for 120 million, so they had that little extra green to spend. And Atletico officially signed Felix for 126 million, and to this day he's the fourth most expensive player of all time. And I'm not gonna lie, if I was Felix, I would fire my agent on the spot. Because if you think of the perfect Diego Simeone player, well, Joao Felix is the exact opposite of that. Simeone is a manager that plays a defensive and pragmatic style of play, the definition of parking the bus, and what people today refer to as haram football. Joao Felix, on the other hand, was the definition of creativity and flair. And as the seasons went on, it became evident that this was a match made in hell. And in 2023, Atletico decided enough was enough, and they decided to ship him off to Chelsea. And then a cycle began. He signs for a new club, looks good on his debut, and then goes missing for a couple months. It happens every single time. It happened at Chelsea, and then Barcelona, and then AC Milan, and then again at Chelsea. He was being passed around like a hooker on crack, until finally this summer he decided to cut his losses and just go and collect the bag at Saudi. I mean, he's still only 25, so there is still time for him to have a full career resurgence. I mean, that's what Rashford is doing right now. But with Joao Felix, I don't know, man. Next up though, we got a player that also got his big break in 2019, and his name is Ansu Fati. All the kids nowadays talk about is Lamine Yamal this, Lamine Yamal that. But before Yamal was a thing, the crown prince of Barcelona was none other than Ansu Fati. As we all know, when Messi broke through at a young age, it was Ronaldinho who took him under his wing. But this time around, it was Messi's turn to take on a student, and it was Ansu Fati. And the kid started breaking all sorts of records. Youngest player to score in the Camp Nou stadium, and he even became the youngest goal scorer in Champions League history. And when Messi left, he even took the iconic number 10 at just 18 years of age. But as we all know, injuries in football are like the reverse flash. Just when it feels like you're on top of the world, your knee decides to become pasta. Trust me, I would know. If it wasn't for my knee injury, I would be in GOAT midfielder convos with the likes of Iniesta and Zidane.
Stop the cap.
Nah, but seriously though, throughout the next couple years, Ansu Fati would struggle massively with knee injuries. From 2020 to 2022, he was injured for 525 days. And even when he came back, he looked like a shadow of his former self. He physically was never the same. You could tell that he lost a step, and the speed and acceleration that made him such a special kid was not there anymore. And to be fair, Xavi really tried to find a way, but it was clear that Ansu Fati wasn't the same. They loaned him out to Brighton, and can you guess what happens next? Yup, he got injured. This time his hamstring. And this summer, Monaco seemed to have been wanting the title of Redemption Club because they signed both him and Pogba. And it's safe to say Ansu Fati has rediscovered his spark. 5 goals in only 6 games at the time of this recording, which is more goals than he managed to get in the previous 2 seasons combined. And I don't know guys, is it crazy to say that Ansu Fati's back? I know, it's only been 2 months since the season started. But hey, who knows? He's still only 22 years old. That's hella young. And I mean, after Dembele won the Ballon d'Or this year, it seems like nothing is out of the realm of possibility. But since the 2 players we've talked about so far are pretty recent, let's take a trip down memory lane for the next failed wonder kid and look into the career of Jack Wilshere. We all know who the best talent to come out of Arsenal's academy is. It's obviously Jezza from F2.
I was at Arsenal, I was on my way to being a professional, got released because they said, on the ball, you're the best at the whole club, including the first team.
But a close second is definitely Jack Wilshere. He came through at just 16 years old when he made his debut for Arsenal, which at the time, he was the youngest Premier League debutant in history. By the 2010-11 season, he was a full-fledged pro. And in that season, we saw one of the greatest teenage performances we have ever seen. In February of 2011, Arsenal were set to face Barcelona in the Champions League round of 16. A Barcelona team, mind you, who had Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets midfield. 2 things are guaranteed in this life: death and taxes. But let me add a third one, which is this midfield midfield trio absolutely hypnotizing whoever they came up against. But that day in 2012 was different because this 19-year-old kid had an absolute masterclass against Barcelona. Defensively, he was great. On the ball, he was untouchable in terms of beating the press, and sometimes he was even single-handedly carrying the team by himself. And Arsenal ended up winning that game 2-1 after going a goal down. As you can imagine, the next day Jack Wilshere was the front page headline and was deemed as the next big thing for England. At the end of the season, he was named PFA Young Player of the Year and Arsenal's Player of the Season. But after this, his career would be very similar to a guy in the NBA named Derrick Rose. All my fellow basketball watchers would know what I mean when I say this, in that his career reached its pinnacle at such a young age, but then the injuries completely crushed him. It might be because Wilshere played too many games at such a young age, but in the beginning of the 2010-11 season, Jack Wilshere got a big ankle injury in preseason. It should have been a normal recovery, but it turned into a setback after a setback after a setback until eventually he had to get surgery. And throughout the next couple years, it didn't get much better. From 2010 to 2016, he missed almost 150 competitive games for Arsenal. He eventually did end up leaving to Bournemouth on loan, and in 2018, he left Arsenal for good, going to West Ham on a free. He played a little bit in Denmark too before retiring at just the age of 30, which in football is very young. We go from one England star boy to another in Dele Alli. Dele Alli signed for Spurs in 2015 from MK Dons, and the way bro burst onto the scene was something special. In his first full season, Dele was moving different. He formed a crazy partnership with Harry Kane and was scoring bangers too, including this volley against Crystal Palace, and he even won PFA Young Player of the Year. The next season, which was the 16-17 season, he went ballistics, getting himself 18 goals and 9 assists in the Premier League and winning his second back-to-back PFA Young Player of the Year award. As you can see, Dele Alli was enjoying himself. Obviously, Tottenham being Tottenham though, they bottled the league both these seasons. But that's besides the point, because Dele Alli at just 21 years old was outperforming midfielders who cost 10 times more than him. And his third season, which was the 2017-18 season, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't as crazy, but he was still decent. He got 9 goals and 10 assists in the league. But after the 2018 World Cup is where Dele's career would take a big turn. Injuries started cooking him, but I'm not gonna lie, we still saw some glimpses. He had moments like getting the assist for Lucas Moore's last minute goal against Ajax and scoring this beautiful goal against pre-banter era Manchester United. But when Jose came, things became worse than ever. He didn't have the same free roaming role like he did under Poch. I remember clips were coming out from the Tottenham documentary of Jose trying to motivate him, but it was clear that his time at the club was getting closer and closer to its end by every day. At the time, people made fun of Dele, but they didn't realize he was going through some personal stuff and was dealing with some mental health issues, which he talked about in the interview with Gary Neville on The Overlap. But at that point, people already had a preconceived notion of him that he was this lazy, egotistical kid that couldn't give two shits about football. And throughout the next few years, he became kind of a journeyman, going to clubs like Everton, Besiktas, and Como. As we all know, his stints at these clubs didn't really work out either. And today, at just 29 years old, the Dele Alli is without a club and contemplating retirement. And it looks like the expectations that everyone set for him at such a young age won't be met anytime soon. Speaking of crushing under the weight of expectations, we probably got the most famous quote-unquote failed wonder kid, Bojan Krkic. A product of La Masia since he was a youngin', Bojan was being developed in the best academy in the world. By 15 years old, he scored 900 goals in youth football. Let me say that again for the people in the back. 900 goals. How is that possible? I don't know. Is it a fake story? I don't know. But what I do know is by 2007, it was clear that Bojan was one of the best young players in the world. I mean, tell me what other 17-year-old could get 48 appearances in his debut season, and it's not like he got this many appearances for teams like Villarreal or Sociedad. He got it in Barcelona, a team that had the likes of Ronaldinho, Eto'o, Henry, and Messi at the time. Like, do you realize how crazy that is? But I feel like you already know what comes next. Comparisons to his cousin came, Lionel Messi. Between 2007 and 2011, he did have some decent numbers, getting 41 goals in 162 appearances. While yes, these were solid numbers, but he was still just a bench player. And you know how I cited mental reasons for Dele Alli not being what he promised to be? Well, Bojan is kind of similar. See, at 19 years old, he decided not to play for Spain at the Euros, saying he was too fatigued. But he later admitted that he had anxiety and got panic attacks before big games. And as you can imagine, this was 2008, so mental health wasn't something that people really discussed in football, or in general, to be honest, which is sad, but it's true. And yeah, in 2011, he left Barcelona, and he also became a journeyman, playing for Roma, Milan, Ajax, Stoke, Mainz, Alaves, Montreal Impact, etc. Bojan then officially retired in 2023 at just the age of 32. And with that being said, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, because best believe we are here to take over.